Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. What is going on? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Oh, we got a busy day today. Busy day today. What do we got going on today? Okay, we got the show now. Got a guest coming up at 8:30. I got a member show coming up at 10 a.m. Meeting today at 2. Lakers post-game show, Lakers Suns. It's a busy day today. We got a lot going on. Try to squeeze in a quick little workout, maybe go for a little walk today as well. Got to make it happen today. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you very much for being here. I feel like I'm signing off. Like the show just ended. Well, thank you for your time. Hope everybody has a great day. Cheers to you. Whatever you're drinking this morning, I'm having a nice cup of coffee, enjoying it. Cup number 2, by the way. Was prepping a little bit. Got cup number 1 in. Now we're at cup number 2. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show. See if everybody has kind of calmed down. Everybody feels a little bit better about the future for the Lakers. By the way, they got some games coming up here. I think Lakers are going to do some damage against some bad teams. Isn't that exciting? Probably not that exciting. Give everyone a quick idea what we got going on for the show. Energy around the Lakers, not good. Not good around the Lakers. However, there are some games that they got coming up here that all of a sudden become must-win games. Go look at the next 4 games for the Lakers. They got a lot of very, very winnable games. And I don't even care about just winning the games, even though they need to. It's more about kind of trying to figure out who the hell they are. There's some stats here. Brian Windhorst was talking about when that trio plays together. There was an account first on Twitter, let me point out, that said that, hey, what's the bigger problem? Is it the trio not working? Is it the other starters? Is it the role players? I'm like, it's everything. It's everything. They got a stretch here coming up over these next 4 games where they not only have to win games, they got to figure out rotations. They got to figure out, a lot of different things. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. The Lakers added to their front office. Tony Bennett. I want to spend a little time talking about what that means to the Lakers, why this is such a big deal. I've talked a little bit about this in the past. I don't want to hear about, what the Lakers are going to do in the summer, this, that. Start stockpiling in the front office, and the Lakers did make a move. I think it's a very positive one. There's some quotes that I'm going to take from there, and then it also leads me to a question about Rob Pelinka. That does this man deserve a certain amount of time? I know everybody kind of likes to go at Rob Pelinka, and I understand some of the reasons for it. But can't Rob Pelinka also make a case and say, yeah, well, I haven't had the proper resources to be the best president of basketball operations that I can be? We'll have a Pelinka conversation as well. Duane Rankin, who covers the Phoenix Suns, AZ Central, he's going to join the show at about 8:30. So he's nice enough to join the show. I know he's going to be on a little bit of a time crunch because Suns got shoot around, but definitely got some questions. Kind of some unfortunate stuff for the Phoenix Suns. They went from being one of the more surprise teams in the NBA to now just completely demolished with injuries. So Lakers got the Phoenix Suns tonight, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I got some questions about Matt Ishbia. I got some questions about some of their players. How's Jordan Goodwin been for the Phoenix Suns? We obviously know he was a Laker last year. Dillon Brooks's injury. So we got a few angles we could take with Duane Rankin. Any confidence in Deandre Ayton? There was an article that Dave McMenamin put out today. I got to reach out to McMenamin, try to get him on for next week. But there was an article that that Dave McMenamin put out that basically is the Lakers kind of go as far as Deandre Ayton goes. And it's funny, when I read the article, I'm like, yeah, if you'd have told me that before the season, I believe it. But at this stage, I'm not sold on the DeAndre Ayton experience. It could change. I need to see it. I'm not going to have blind faith on it. Let's put it that way. Got some NBA news we're going to get into. A lot of questions now about the MVP and some people not liking the structure if you got to play 65 games. I don't think I mind it. Maybe you could go down a little bit on the amount of games, but some conversation there in regards to who's in the race now. Do they deserve it? Do they not? Then we'll get the heck out of here. So I appreciate you guys being the show. Just a quick reminder, 10 a.m. I might even do it a little bit earlier, to be honest with you. Maybe just depending on what time this show ends. Maybe I'll do it at 9:30. member show today. If you're not a member, please consider it. Just $3 a month to support the channel. Love kind of talking more personal with the members. We shoot on a lot of different topics, so I love doing that. Again, if you got the ability to do so, would love for you to be a member. And if you don't, no problem at all. Obviously, it doesn't cost anything to come on this show Monday through Friday. It doesn't cost anything to be a part of the post-game show. All right, let's read a couple of comments, and then we will get the show started. What are our people doing today? You have to make some organizational changes with the Los Angeles Lakers as the team is currently constructed. They're not a championship front franchise. They have a few pieces that are good. Yeah, and I think there's also I think there's a little bit to the, how do I put this? The mindset of the franchise, the philosophy of the franchise, the character of the franchise, I go back and I know I've mentioned a few different teams a couple different times on this show. There's certain teams that you're going to play in the NBA. You're like, yeah, it's going to be a dogfight. And it has nothing to do with talent. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. Obviously, talent is important. You got to have certain talent on your team. But unfortunately for the Lakers, you don't walk into games saying, yeah, they have, they have a certain mentality, and that mentality is going to make this an absolute dogfight. That's just not in, the Lakers' DNA. All right, let me get a couple more comments here before we get the show started. I saw this comment. Zach Lowe came out and said Luka's complaining is unwatchable and is draining. We've been saying that all year. Yeah, it's funny. So yesterday when the show ended, we sent some clips out, and I'll put some clips out on YouTube, and then occasionally AM 570 will grab one of those and they'll put it up on Instagram. And I think they put up the one where I'm talking about Luka complaining. And in my head, I'm like, I've been saying this for about a month, but timing is whatever timing is. I know those that I know a lot of these people that don't watch the Lakers every single day. And I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, if you're not a Laker fan, why are you watching the Lakers every single day? There's better products out there to watch, if I'm being honest with you. But if you do watch the Lakers, it's a nationally televised game or something like that, and you're a little bit new to some of the nuances with the Lakers. Luka, this is not new. Luka's been complaining for a long time, but it's kind of new to some Laker fans. It's like, Jesus, is this how this guy all the time? Apparently, it is how he is all the time. All right, let's get to let's get the show started. I'm going to point out one thing here before we do start. We do have, if you ask, you shall receive. We do have a new member, Investing Misfit. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member, brother. Thank you for being an MVP member. Greatly appreciate that. And like I said, I want nobody to feel any pressure, but if you'd like to become a member, it's $3 a month. There's a reason kind of why I priced it right there as well. I tried to make it as affordable to anybody. But if you're able to do so, awesome. If not, no problem at all. Shout out to all the members. Member show coming up at 10 a.m. All right, let's get the show started. So here's what the Lakers got coming up, and I think this is important to point out. Again, it's not the end of the world, but I do think it's important to point out. If anybody's a basketball fan, and I start talking about Lakers basketball, there's going to be a certain kind of there's a certain feeling that comes with talking Lakers basketball right now. Just as if you're a Pistons fan and you're, talking about the Detroit Pistons, it's like, oh man, look at this team. They got a chance to come out of the Eastern Conference. Cade Cunningham is a stud. Who knows what the ceiling of this team is? And you also have questions like, hey, they've never proved anything in the playoffs. But there's a good positive vibe that comes out of the Pistons. If you're talking the Spurs, 10 wins in a row, they still got a shot at the number one seed in the Western Conference. Boston, maybe Charlotte, you're going to get a positive vibe because they've been playing good basketball. They're kind of coming in. Certain team, there's a certain vibe that comes with every team right now. There's some franchises out there where there's no emotion at all. With the Lakers, there's definitely a negative energy around the Lakers. And there's a negative energy for a couple of different reasons. Kind of some of the stats that we pointed out. They're 11-12 in their last 23 games. By the way, they're not the only team in the Western Conference that's had their struggles over this last stretch of games. I think the Rockets, they're 13-10 over their last 23. Denver's 12-10. Minnesota's 12-10. Warriors are 11-10. Suns are 12-11. A lot of these teams kind of hovering around 500 over the last month and a half or so. And a lot of these teams are going to have injury issues, whatever the case is. Phoenix right now is dismantled with injuries. Denver's had a lot of injuries this year. Lakers have had their fair share of injuries. But even when the Lakers got healthy, they're still not playing good basketball. But there's definitely a negative energy that comes with the Lakers. They got a little bit of an opportunity here in front of them. I was spending a little time on this, and I was saying to myself, I'm like, all right, well, they got a stretch coming up here. We know that the continuity is not there. The chemistry is not there. I got some stats here that's talking about LeBron, Luka, and AR. I got, Tim McMahon saying something, Brian Windhorst saying something. I think everybody knows and understands that the Lakers got a lot to figure out. Here's what the Lakers have over their next 4 games. Phoenix tonight, a dismantled Phoenix team. The Golden State Warriors coming up on Saturday. Home against Sacramento, home against New Orleans, 2 of the worst teams in the entire NBA. And Golden State, I'll have to check here real quick. I check to see if Golden State what the deal is with Steph Curry. So I don't know. Is Steph out significant amount of time? He's not. I'll double check here just to see. But this stretch for the Lakers, it could be one of the most important stretches that they have all season. And there is no, if they go 3-1, they're fine. If they go 2-2, they got to go 4-0 over this 4-game stretch. They might not have an easier stretch. Yeah, what does it say here? Steph Curry, this was on February 19th, going to be reevaluated by medical staff in 10 days, which means Steph Curry will not be playing when the Lakers play the Golden State Warriors coming up on Saturday. They got to go 4-0 over this stretch. And they not only have to win these games, they also have to figure out a lot of their ish in the process of winning these 4 games, because a lot of times right now for the Lakers, the problem is you might sneak out a win here or there, or maybe you might get your ass kicked or whatever the case is, but they're also trying to figure out what's the proper lineups, who should be the starters, what the hell do you do when LeBron, Luka, and AR have the ball, or when they're all in the game at the same time? What's the closing lineup? The problem with the Lakers is they face some pretty good teams, and they already have chemistry issues and are trying to figure all this stuff out. And then you're going up against a good team that does have good continuity. You get your ass kicked, or you lose against Orlando without 2 key players that they had. These next 4 games for the Lakers, there is just absolutely no excuse for the Lakers. They got to do damage. And maybe you have confidence they could do that. Maybe you have no confidence that they can do that. But I think this next 4-game stretch, you not only have to go 4-0, not only do you have to, and I think that might even be, if they go 4-0 on this next 4-game stretch, it would be their highest total that they've had this year in regards to how many games over 500. But not only do you have to go 4-0 because of where you are in the standings, but you also got to figure out a lot of stuff. There was an account out there that was talking about on Twitter, what's the biggest Lakers issue? Is it Luka, AR, and LeBron trying to figure out how to play with each other? Or is it the other 2 starters not doing their job? Right when I read that, I'm like, no. Let me add to that list. It's not does Luka, AR, and LeBron need to figure out that trio together. It's not just the other 2 starters, how they could be better players defensively or offensively. It's what the hell are your rotations? Who should be coming off the bench? What happened to Rui and Jake LaRavia and Vando and Marcus Smart and all these other role players that you have? What kind of Deandre Ayton are you going to get every single night? Do not stop at, well, here's 2 things I'm pointing out that the Lakers need to figure out. There's 6, 7 things Lakers got to figure out. It's just the truth. What was the quote from JJ Redick? They're a work in progress. Brother, you got 25 games left. I mean, you're supposed to be a work in progress 25 games in, not 25 games left. But that to me is kind of the short term right now that I'm looking at the Lakers, is they are going to be desperate to win these 4 games against teams that they're supposed to beat because they're injured. It's funny when I say that they're supposed to go 4-0, it's not primarily just because of the talent, but it's also because Dylan Brooks is injured. Devin Booker's injured. Steph Curry's injured. I'm sure Porzingis and Draymond Green will be questionable. Jimmy Butler is out. a lot of it also has to do with just teams don't have all their guys. So the Lakers obviously got to take advantage of that. We'll see if they're able to do so. I want to play a clip here real quick of Tim McMahon. I mentioned it yesterday, but I want to tie it into Brian Windhorst, who had a quote as well. And then I'm going to talk about the Lakers adding to their front office. So let me just kind of point this out because I think this is something that I mentioned yesterday. I want to point it out again, and we can go from there. I want you to take a quick listen here to Tim McMahon talking about Luka and LeBron playing together. And then there's a quote from Brian Windhorst that goes kind of even further into this. It's only going to disappoint Laker fans a little bit more here. Take a quick listen to Tim McMahon, who was on Get Up yesterday.
This is a year removed from Luka being traded to the Lakers, and he has not developed any kind of chemistry with LeBron James. Big picture, that's the problem. LeBron and Luka are an awkward fit. They are minus 82 this year with those two guys on the floor together. That is the worst plus minus of any Lakers pair. It's one thing for them to be poor defensively. You can expect that with Luka playing next to a guy in his 40s. They are a bottom 5 offensive team with Luka and LeBron on the floor together. That tells you this is a duo that has no kind of chemistry.
All right, no type of chemistry between those two players, and I would go a step further. There's a lot of players outside of just LeBron and Luka that don't have much chemistry. I'm going to read you a quote here from Brian Windhorst real quick. It says, "When Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves play together, they're just not a good team. When it's just Austin and Luka out there, the Lakers are an excellent team." And he's obviously taking some of this based off some statistics out there. I don't even know if I completely agree with that, but clearly they would be better from that perspective. Now, I feel like both of these are angling towards, well, LeBron's the problem. Here's the problem with saying LeBron's the problem. LeBron's on your team, and LeBron ain't going anywhere the rest of the year. And you're going to have to obviously figure it out with these players. So I go back to the thing that I said earlier, that at the end of the day, I think for the Lakers, it's not one issue. They don't have one problem. They have multiple problems. You cannot tell me that if this is a sinking ship, it's like, oh, there's just one small hole that we have to seal up. No, you get that hole sealed up, there's another hole over there. You get that one sealed up, there's another one over there. Sometimes there's 3-4 holes at the same time. That's Lakers basketball. But I did think that was interesting how both Tim McMahon and Brian Windhorst are basically saying that LeBron and Luka, Luka, and Austin Reeves is not a good look, that the Lakers got to find more opportunities where LeBron's, obviously if he's not on the floor, whatever the case is, to do most of their damage. Well, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be there. So I don't know if there's a solution to that, but I like I said, I don't think there's one issue. I think there's multiple issues with the Lakers. So something to keep in mind there as we continue to roll through the show. I know we got comments, so I want to start getting to some of the comments. And then I want to talk about what I think was the most important thing that happened yesterday that is going to signal something, and that is some positive momentum for the Lakers as we continue to obviously look at the Lakers' big picture. By the way, I'm going to give some credit. The one that I was talking about, the one that was the account out there that was asking the question, at the Lakers Review was the account out there that was discussing which is the bigger issue for the Lakers. And like I said, I think there's a lot more issues than one or two. All right, we start looking at some of the comments here. Before I do so, let's give some love to some of our partners. You guys know we got a couple of partners on here that are loyal, that are phenomenal, and have really helped build the channel. They've allowed me to hire a producer. I mean, if I don't have these partners, I'm not in a position. I mean, every piece counts. It's obviously the listeners. It's obviously having members. And then it's also having partners as well. So shout out to Harrah Resort SoCal, who's a partner here on the channel and on the broadcast. If you're looking for a staycation, I'm going to help you out here. There is a real headache that comes with trying to plan a trip. And there's also an unbelievably quick expense account that just starts adding up. You're budgeted for this amount of money, and before you even land in the city that you want to go to, you've already shot through all your money before you booked hotel or anything else. Give yourself the peace of mind and say, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go, book round trip, and I got to get 2 tickets, and now it's there and back, and I'm already now $500-600 deep into wherever I'm going. You got to park your car at the airport. You got to rent a car. You got to do all this stuff. Guys, why would you do any of this when you got one of the best resorts right here in Southern California at Harrah Resort SoCal? Located in North San Diego, Palomar Mountains, beautiful, beautiful resort. Like I've told you guys know this. Been there a number of different times. Really, really enjoy every time that I go there. Beautiful restaurants, great food. Entertainment is awesome. If you're a big fan of beer, they got the Rincon Brewery, Rita's Cantina, Hell's Kitchen. If you're looking for entertainment, they got comedians. They got everything there. That's where your next trip should be. Use the link that we provide in this video for 20% off. Got to use that link if you're going to book. If you got questions, you're not 100% sure how to do it, send me an email. I'll put you in the right direction. I'll put you in touch with the right people. I've got great relationships and great contacts there. HarrahSoCal.com is the website to start planning your trip. Use the link to get 20% off. Restrictions do apply. Shout out to Harrah Resort SoCal. Yesterday was I thought, a significant day for the Lakers. Significant day. Why was it significant? Because every single day the Lakers start adding to the front office is a sign that new ownership is investing just a little bit more money into, I think, the most important part of any franchise, any business, any company is your infrastructure. You know, you can go out there, if you run a company and you're out there and like, I'm going to put all my money in getting the best sales staff out there. And I'm getting big hitters everywhere. Here, this guy had a lot of success with this company and that company, and I got 3 or 4 of the top salespeople out there. Okay, that's fine. But how's your infrastructure? Do you have a general manager that's pointing everybody in the right direction? Do you have an assistant general manager? Do you have a sales manager? Do you have enough infrastructure that when those sales reps that you have go out into the workforce, that they got everything that they need, that whatever they end up selling, the company comes through for whoever they sold? The infrastructure is everything. And if I'm trying to give an example of, sales members being NBA players or basketball players, and that's the team that you have, I'm not telling you that they're irrelevant, but what I'm telling you is if you don't have proper infrastructure, it almost doesn't matter what happens on the floor, or it's affecting how much more effective you can be on the floor if you don't have the proper infrastructure. So the thing that got me the most excited and the most optimistic, and I think that's been the case for a lot of Laker fans out there once the Buss family sold to Mark Walter, is this guy is going to put the proper infrastructure together so that the Lakers can have success. Now, for a regular fan, you don't care or know or understand how Tony Bennett is going to help the Los Angeles Lakers as he's hired as a draft advisor. You don't need to know. That's not a sexy conversation. You know what fans like? Fans like, hey, do you have a chance at Walker Kessler? Fans like, can you trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? That's what fans like. Fans like the beautiful lob, the no-look pass, the guy that scored 15 points in a quarter. That's what fans want to see. They want to see everything that's sexy. But in order to make your business successful, it's all the non-sexy moves that happen in the background. That's going to be the most important thing. And that's where Mark Walter, obviously where he comes into play. And I think his unlimited resources towards the front office will be the most important thing. Yesterday, the Lakers did something. They hired former University of Virginia head coach Tony Bennett as NBA draft advisor. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's it. Lakers are set. I'm not going to sit here and try to make a case that the Lakers completely changed. This is the right hire. It's the perfect hire. I don't know. Well, wait a year and we'll find out if it's the right hire. But the most important thing what happened yesterday is it's another basketball mind that's going in that front office. And I think it's safe to say the Lakers need a lot more basketball minds that need to go in that front office. So I'm going to reset. Dan Wyke put something out there that I think is important. And I think this is going to kind of paint a little bit of a picture of where the Lakers are. I got something I want to mention on Pelinka as well after this as well. But I think this was big news. Here's what Dan Wyke put out there. And this was a quote coming, I think, from Pelinka, or at least from within the Lakers organization. It says, Bennett's experience in finding players who possess toughness, energy, and IQ will aid in the Lakers' search as they restock an empty-ish cupboard of young talent. You know what I see when I see the Lakers play certain teams? They played Boston a couple of nights ago. I see this with some of these other teams. I'm like, who's that guy? How'd they get this player? Wait, they drafted that guy? That was a two-way guy? Who is this player? Who's that player? That guy's an internet. This guy came from Europe. And I feel like for the Lakers, it's safe to say whether it's Jalen Hood-Schifino or it's Dalton Connect, Adu Thero will obviously have to wait and see. He hasn't really got any opportunities. They've done a good job. They've got players, Scottie Pippen Jr., Jay Huff. Obviously Austin Reeves came through the Lakers organization, but there's also been a lot of players that have kind of slipped through the cracks, haven't been good draft picks, and the Lakers they're not stockpiled with young talent. If you want to succeed in today's NBA, you need a little bit of everything. You need young talent that's cheap, don't cost anything, and can affect a basketball game. You also need stars and good players and role players and vets, and you need all that other stuff. Tony Bennett is going to try to fill a role for the Lakers that they desperately need. There was a quote from Pelinka yesterday that I think was important as well. I'm going to read it. The goal is to mirror the Dodgers' successful front office, which has mastered player identification and development in addition to working with a seemingly unlimited payroll. That portion to me, I think, might have been the most important piece that I read here. So the Lakers hiring a real vet in the game when it comes to identifying young players. I mean, Tony Bennett's a real hire. You want to look for a resume? That's a phenomenal resume. By the way, he's coached Malcolm Brogdon, Joe Harris, DeAndre Hunter, Trey Murphy, and Ty Jerome in college. He's been, as far as some of his accomplishments, he won a national championship in 2019, 3-time National Coach of the Year. I don't know how much it's going to translate to the Lakers. What I'm telling you on paper, resume-wise, Tony Bennett's a real name. The thing you should get excited about is maybe you can't get Tony Bennett if you don't sell the team to Mark Walter. Maybe you can't start stockpiling in the front office if it's still the Buss family. So I've said this to you guys before. I said, this was maybe a month ago, something like that. I said, I'm waiting for the Lakers to come out with a press release and say, the Lakers just hired this individual as a general manager, and the rest of the league is like, wow, Lakers got a really good basketball mind. Or the Lakers just hired this person to run the entire scouting department for the Lakers, and everybody's like, they got who? Wow, that guy he's one of the best basketball minds, scouting guys. He finds international players, this, that. To me, I'm going to get just as excited as a Tony Bennett signing or somebody in the front office that than you would if a player came in, because that's how critical that infrastructure is. So I know that, again, I know it's not sexy. I know that's not going to help the Lakers tonight against the Phoenix Suns. I know this is not a conversation to be had in regards to where the Lakers are going to be in the standings this year, how Luka, AR, and LeBron are going to work, what the Lakers are going to do in the offseason. But this is a critical move, and I think all these pieces are critical. I was having the conversation, I was prepping, if Duane Rankin comes on, then we'll cut this piece short and I could continue the conversation. There's so much that goes when we talk about the Lakers, and everybody is so quick to say, got to get Pelinka out of here. And listen, I'm not here to tell you you're right or you're wrong. But what I am here to tell you is Pelinka can also make a case and say, well, I haven't had the right infrastructure around me. I haven't had the right amount of investment into the front office as well. I haven't had the right personnel, because it could be the Buss family that was cutting corners, or they didn't have the budget for it. Whatever the case is, I don't know what's going on in the background. But I think for all of those that continue to say, got to get Pelinka out of here, this at least is perceived as a hiring from Rob Pelinka, of course, with the green light coming from ownership. And like I mentioned, Rob Pelinka could be sitting in the background saying to himself, finally, I get some stuff to work with as well. I could properly put together the right front office so I can have also some more success on the basketball floor. I don't think that's crazy to say. I actually think that's a very fair argument. That's why when a lot of people talk about Rob Pelinka, I always say, you got to give this guy at least 1 year under new ownership to see if that the direction of the franchise is moving in the right direction. And, like I mentioned, the biggest question is going to be, are they now going to give him the proper infrastructure so he can have success as well? Pelinka could very well not be the right guy. Very easily could not be the right guy. But I think there's also an argument to be made if I'm Rob Pelinka saying, guys, I don't have enough to work with as well. And the Lakers, obviously, now it seems like they're going to start putting him in a position where there is more to work with. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. And shout out to everybody that's hanging out, that's here. I appreciate you guys being here and listening to me yap for the last 30 minutes. Should we lower LeBron's minutes? Now DA is bitching. I will say this. The LeBron piece of it, be more strategic with LeBron. Look, that's a weird one. It's a weird one. Here's a 41-year-old, one of the greats of all time. What are you going to tell LeBron? Honestly, what are you going to tell him? LeBron, we want you to come off the bench. I don't think that's going to happen. But you got to be more strategic with him. That's why, honestly, I don't like the LeBron, Luka, and AR playing together to start the game. I don't think those three together are good, number one. And I also don't think that I think it hurts the bench. I think it hurts AR's game. I think there's way too much standing around. I think there's a lot of questions there. And I don't want to hear Deandre Ayton bitching. The guy he's got nothing to complain about. The only thing that I want to hear from Deandre Ayton is that he's going to improve the rest of the way. If not, then I don't know what you want me to tell you. Should we lower or Francis, thank you for the super brother. Thank you. Let's get another one here. John, thank you for the super brother. What teams Luka Reeves beat together contenders? Yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I don't think I know. I was a little bit kind of hesitant with some of the, I don't think you could sit here and promote, well, LeBron, Luka, and AR are not all that great together, but Luka and AR are perfect. I don't think that's a perfect combination either. I think it's definitely I think that's a fair argument to make, or a fair point to make. They're not perfect together. However, I will tell you, if you have a lineup in there with Luka, AR, and then however you fill out the rest of the roster with just dogs and some skilled players as well, probably would be more effective. But again, I'm not here to make an argument that the Lakers got one issue and their problem is LeBron. Lakers got plenty of issues, and it's not just LeBron. I mean, I could point out you want me to find some holes in Luka Doncic? I'll find some holes. Doesn't play good enough defense, dribbles the ball too much ISO ball, and complains way too much. I just found the best player on the floor every single game, and there's ways to point out some of the holes that he has. AR, I can find holes. Ayton, I can find holes. JJ Redick, I can find holes with everybody. It's not just one person or one player. All right, let's get a couple more comments in. I know Duane Rankin's running a couple minutes late, so we'll get Duane whenever he comes. No rush there. Gives me a little bit more time to do this. Who knows? Tony Bennett may be the ultimate replacement for JJ Redick. I mean, I don't know if we have to go into that piece, but again, they need help in the front office. They really do. And because they need help in the front office, I think Tony Bennett's a real name. And it doesn't guarantee that it's going to work. But it shows that new ownership, they're active in trying to figure out, all right, you know what? Trade deadline passed. We held on to our draft picks. We weren't able to improve the team. Okay, what are other ways we can improve the team? Listen, they are working. They raise ticket prices. I'm sure a lot of people are not crazy about that. And frankly, I think some of the comments that they had after, I don't think they really cared. I think we got to supply and demand. The team's going to be a lot better. We're going to raise the ticket prices, which sucks, but I'm also not shocked by it. They just, Tim Harris, we talked about, who ran business for 35 years. He's done by the end of the year. Lon Rosen, who's run the Dodgers business operation. They're making moves that they just might not be moves that signal anything on the floor today, but they're certainly starting to make some moves. All right, let's get another one in here. There are too many complainers on this team. Amen to that. That starts with Luka, and the team will take after him. Yeah, it's not a good example. I mean, yesterday I was saying that a championship pedigree and a championship leader, you're not looking at the refs after every possession. Doesn't mean Lakers can't win a championship without Luka, but I'm telling you where they're sitting today, it's not a good look for anybody. It's not. That's how I look at it. I don't think it's a good look for anybody. All right. I want to start talking Ayton a little bit. I think we got a couple of angles. There was an article that came out on Deandre Ayton, and I wanted to mention it. I thought it was an interesting angle to take here. Before we do so, tomorrow I'm going to be at the Wallace firm. I'm going to be over at their podcast studios. We'll have Brad Wallace come on tomorrow a little bit later in the show. You guys have heard us have plenty of conversations in regards to the Lakers. He's a big Laker fan. I hope you guys don't need Brad Wallace in the Wallace firm. I know that sounds like an interesting pitch, but it's the truth. I hope nobody ever needs an injury attorney. I hope nobody's ever in a situation, a friend, a family member, yourself, that is a wrongful death case, an injury, anything along those lines, a serious accident. But things do happen in life. And if something does happen to you, a friend or a family member, you have somebody that can help you, somebody that's trusted, somebody that's trustworthy. One of the best in the business, can help anybody in the state of California. Here's all you have to do. You just got to go to the website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that website, get a free consultation, somebody from their team will reach out to you. And again, I hope you never need an injury attorney, but if you do, you got somebody that's loyal to the channel that's willing to help you. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Looking forward to being at the Wallace Studios coming up tomorrow. That'll be a fun opportunity to reconnect with them and hang out with Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. All right. There was an article earlier this morning. I thought it was interesting because, I don't know, it kind of threw me off a little bit. I almost felt like I was kind of going back to before the season started. I'm going to read you the headliner of this article. It's on Deandre Ayton. And this is on ESPN, and this is Dave McMenamin that wrote the article. So let me click on this link. Of course, it won't open. All right, here we go. Why the Lakers' success depends on Deandre Ayton and vice versa. If the season hadn't started, by the way, Ayton had a really good game against the Orlando Magic, predominantly in the first half. But if the season hadn't started and this article came out, I'm all in. I'm all in. I think I spent a lot of time. A lot of this, maybe my opinion was influenced because one of the best basketball minds, there was a time where I had Michael Thompson on the show, and me and MT were talking. And MT said that he's the most important player on this Lakers roster. And it's like, yeah, but is he? And then the more that you thought about it and this and that, you're like, no, DeAndre Ayton is obviously a very, very critical player to the Lakers' success. But when I initially saw this, why the Lakers' success depends on DeAndre Ayton and vice versa, the first thing I thought of when I saw this, it made me think of before the season started. I don't have any expectations for DeAndre Ayton anymore. So anytime Ayton has a good game, you take it. You're excited about it. Ayton had a quote after the game against the Orlando Magic. The ball finds energy. They believe in me when I'm down there and ceiling. They see me running hard to the rim and crashing. They reward me. He said something as well I thought was interesting. He said, they're trying to make me Clint Capella, which is kind of funny. I'm not no Clint Capella. I used to have a lot more confidence in DeAndre Ayton before the season started. I thought he started out the season pretty decent. And I think the last couple of months, I now know kind of who DeAndre Ayton is. And that story that we had in regards to DeAndre Ayton and in regards to, the Lakers kind of go as DeAndre Ayton goes, I just don't have confidence in DeAndre Ayton. So I don't know how much weight that holds for me. Here's my interpretation on DeAndre Ayton. You can't depend on him. You can't rely on him. Every once in a while, he's going to have a good game. That as simple as that. If that changes, if we go the next month and all of a sudden he's a lot better, then I'll change my opinion on it. But I got to see it to believe it. I will not have blind faith on Deandre Ayton based on what I've seen this year. Okay, looks like our guest is all ready to go, and I'm excited to put him on here. Duane Rankin, who covers the Phoenix Suns for AZ Central, is going to take some time to join the show. So let's get Duane in the mix here. Duane, good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
I don't know if I'm on because I see a black screen. I don't see.
I see a black screen too. But hey, the audio is good. We got the audio here working perfect.
I might have to make a quick change in terms of where this is coming from, because clearly it's not coming through.
Okay, why don't you try this? Let's try one more time. If it doesn't work, then we'll just stick with the audio, and then you and I can have it the way we used to do, where it was just basically a radio conversation.
Okay, let me. Yeah. I'm gonna back out for a second, and then
sounds good.
Come back in.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you, Duane. All right, we'll get Duane back on here in just a second, but I know he's at the facility or working his way to the facility for the Lakers and the Suns game, and definitely got a lot of questions I want to ask Duane in regards to this game coming up tonight and the Phoenix Suns. So either way, we'll have a conversation with him, whether it's video or it's not. You guys might have to stare at my face for a while. Let's get to some comments here, and then we'll go from there. Let's see what we got here. We know who DA is. 20-10 against bad teams, 5-5 against contenders. By the way, I disagree with that. 20-10 against bad teams. I think that's promoting him too much. I don't think he's 20-10 against bad teams. I wish he was 20-10 against bad teams. Let's see what else we have here. Ayton is a role player. You can't say the team's success determined by one role player. That's insane. Yeah, but I think here's the difference. It's such a critical role for the Lakers, and they've had absolutely nothing in that spot. Obviously last season they didn't have it. They struggled in the playoffs because they didn't have a dependable big man. And then here came a former number one pick that was making $30+ million that, clearly you thought could at least be just an upgrade for the Lakers. It's a contract year for him. It's the only chance he's going to get in order to put himself in a position so then he can get a better contract somewhere. Critical, right? Like a really, really critical year, for him. And I think I think there's a little bit. Let me try to work on this. I think there's a little bit of there was some optimism coming in here. And it wasn't for him to change everything for the Lakers. Obviously, you needed everybody else to change everything as well. But I definitely think there was a piece that you thought he was going to be a real contributor. There was optimism for a reason. I don't think that was fake. I really don't think that was fake. I think that optimism was real. And clearly he hasn't lived up to that. And that's just that's the way we are. I don't think there's any other way to look at it, but that's exactly where we are. Slee, don't get me started on Ayton. Ayton doesn't produce enough to be talking. You're right. Honestly, I'm not going to argue with that. This Ayton article makes me want him gone ASAP. Well, by the way, you might not have the chance to have him out ASAP because he'll have a player option. Okay, looks like we got Duane Rankin, and it looks like we got some video as well. So I think we're good to go. Let's welcome in Duane. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Hey, how you guys doing? Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry, man. They gotta stare at me for an hour, and now they get a little something different. Trust me, they're excited. They wanted you on video.
Okay.
Hey, I'll start off with this, and I know Lakers got the Suns coming up tonight, and I got a couple of questions. Man, Arizona, the Suns have been such an interesting team to me all year, and I'm really, really, really disappointed. And I feel bad that they're hitting all these injuries, because they were one of the more unique stories in the Western Conference to come from what they were last year and the Bradley Beal and the Kevin Durant. And then now all of a sudden You got a team that actually has an identity. They fight. They're dogs. I mean, a couple really good matchups, fun matchups between the Lakers and the Suns already this year. So it's unfortunate to see some of their injuries. Can you just kind of give us the latest? Is there some hope for the Phoenix Suns? Obviously not tonight, but just in general, that they'll have some health working their way as you get a little bit further in the season?
Well, Devin Booker should be back after tonight. He had a week evaluation period, and they set it up at a good time because they had like 4 days in between the Laker game and the Sacramento game. So this is the ideal time for Devin to get back. So I expect him to play against the Kings once they go on the road to play Sacramento. But the others, Dylan Brooks, we're talking 4 to 6 weeks. Jordan Goodwin, we're talking 1 to 2 weeks. Two guys that we know the kind of season Dylan Brooks has had a career year, and then Goodwin, who was with the Lakers, he's turned out to be a really good find in his second run with the Suns. Defensive guy, can knock down the three. It's funny because him and Dylan kind of play the same and had the same mentality, except Dylan is in your face with the aggressiveness and the antagonism, where Jordan just plays a certain way. But it's the same mental state of how they go about business. So you're losing that on the defensive end, and then they're trying to implement Jalen Green, trying to get him involved in the offense, and it looks like it's going to be a work in progress. But Devin, I wrote something the other day saying, can Devin Booker fix all of this? Like, can he come back and all of a sudden all is well? I gotta believe it to see it. I mean, because you're losing two guys that again defend on one end, and Brooks is having a career year, and we know how capable Devin is and what he's been, a 5-time All-Star, one of the best players in the league. But they're in the 7th spot, only 2 behind the Lakers, so they're in a good position right now. To be interested to see what happens over the next, I'd say, 3 weeks, because then you'll know what Devin and Jalen is looking like together, and then we'll see what they're looking like without Dylan.
Yeah, and I think the Book piece that you mentioned, I mean, Book can be as great as he is. He can be the best version of himself when he has players like Jordan Goodwin and Dylan Brooks around him because of their style of play. They can be the dogs, and they could go and listen, Dylan Brooks is what he's been able to do offensively. He's kind of taken his game to a whole nother level, but on the defensive side, who they defend. So obviously that's a big piece of it. Just as a whole, let's just say Phoenix kind of stays where they are and they end up that number 7 seed, and they end up, I'm going to assume they get in a first round matchup and they're out in the first round, and it's, they lose to San Antonio or OKC. I'm assuming here, and you tell me, is that going to be considered a successful season for the Phoenix Suns, number one? And number two, what's the future of the Phoenix Suns? I mean, how good do they feel with what they're working with? Because it's such a drastic change from who they were and what their identity has been the last couple of years.
Well, it would be a win season considering what happened last year, with Durant trading him and Beal buying him out, and they went reconstruction mode. They just basically said, okay, we're going to get away from the big three look. We're going to maybe a more defensive-minded group. We're going to play hard, be physical, aggressive, and they shifted. And so now, when you're looking at the future, and again, you're right. You would think they would be 7 or 8. So that means San Antonio or OKC. You're playing in the first round. I mean, look, they have beaten San Antonio twice. They have beaten OKC once, but we're talking a whole different animal when it comes to that point in the season, talking about a playoff situation. Although the Spurs is kind of young, would be interesting to see how that would play in the series. But just moving forward with the Suns, Mark Williams, huge. He's a restricted free agent. Does a team go out there and offer him a big deal? Because people keep saying, we don't think he's going to get a big deal. I'm like, all it takes is one team to give him a big contract, and then the Suns got to make a decision. Do you match the offer? Do you think Malawach would be good enough to be ready to play next year based off of this year? I would say that answer is no, because he's hardly played. He's done more G League than he's done NBA games. And so Mark Williams is a big piece. Okay, what are you doing with him He's not playing 30 minutes. Are you thinking 30 minutes he could be this? Or are you thinking he's played under 30 and he's been healthy? So how do you weigh him? And then to me, he's the big thing right now. Okay, what do you do with him moving forward? Because if you have him, you have a big, and then you have also Iguodala, and then maybe you're letting Malawak develop another year, and then you're saying he's ready to go. But how big is the deal for Mark Williams? Does that slow up what Malawak is doing? Do you end up doing something else with Malawak? It's just that piece to me is what they have to figure out. If they get that figured out moving forward, then we'll see where they really are in terms of, you're basically keeping the same group, cohesion. Maybe you're adding a four-man, bigger four-man, because right now they're lacking size at the four. So maybe you add that. So that's where I'm looking at future-wise with the Suns.
Has Mark Williams been, I think there's a lot of Laker fans on here that,
right,
with the rescinded trade and everything else. And by the way, right when you came on, I was talking Ayton. So I got a question for you on Deandre Ayton as well, who spent obviously time in Phoenix as well. Has Mark Williams been, how has he been for the Phoenix Suns? And, I'm sure he's, anytime he plays the Lakers, he's going to be a little upset. The Lakers, by rescinding that trade, they probably really hurt his stock, and he's got to use the Phoenix Suns to try to build that stock back. How has he been this season?
Well, it's been interesting because as of late, let's just put it this way: last game only scored 2 points. So you're trying to figure out. He only took 3 shots. This is a situation where, if he doesn't start well, and the matchup isn't looking in his favor, then they go to also Iguodala, who's a smaller guy, but he's able to switch 1 through 5, and he can handle the ball. He's not the scorer that Mark is, but he gives him everything else. So it's been a situation where he's had some great games. We're talking like 20 and 10. Like, he's had put up some numbers, and he's had games like he had the other night. So you're trying to weigh the big thing with him. He's been healthy. Like, he set a career high for played games.
Oh, wow.
He set a career high for all kinds of stuff in terms of the actual playing basketball. This is a guy that never hardly played at all his first 3 years. So that's been a win for the Suns. But, without, I'd say, Devin, Dillon, you were expecting this last game, hey, get him going. Let's see the offense. And it was not there. He only played 18, 19 minutes because the fit wasn't working for his team against the Celtics. So that's where you're like, he's had a solid year. He's shooting over 60%. He's done it his whole career. But it's that, okay, one game he's 20 and 10. Next game he's 4 and 7. So how do you weigh what he is? Yeah, he's all over the board, but the consistency has been actual playing. And that's what the Suns were wanting. Okay, let's play games. And he has done that. So in that sense, it's a win. But you're just wondering, can he be consistent? And he just hasn't been. A lot of that is based on minutes, a lot of it based on matchups, and some of that is on him.
Well, in a sense, that's a win, right? Just his availability, because it's him.
Right.
For him to be available now, it's the next step of playing consistently. Right before you came on, we're talking about DeAndre and Dave McMenamin, who obviously we both know, wrote a piece this morning about DeAndre, and kind of the emphasis of it was the Lakers kind of go as DeAndre Ayton goes. Let me tell you if any of this is a surprise to you, for when you followed. Obviously DeAndre, and I'd love to get your interpretation on this, but my experience with DeAndre as a Laker, he had some pretty decent expectations to start the year. Lakers were so thin at the center spot, so it was a real opportunity. He's coming into a critical year. Yes, he's got a player option, but he doesn't want that player option. He wants to go get another contract, somewhere else, whether it's with the Lakers or somewhere else. And it's been underwhelming. Last couple of months been very underwhelming. He might have, it's funny, some of the way you were pointing out Mark Williams, where he can have a game like he did against Orlando, I think 21 and 10 or something like that, but he also followed that up with a 5 and 5 or an 8 and 4 or something like that. Does that surprise you at all with DeAndre Ayton, and what was your experience when he was with the Phoenix Suns? And is he kind of exactly what he is? And I don't know why anyone would expect something different.
Well, I started covering DeAndre his rookie year. So his whole time with the Suns, I was covering the team. I actually started covering the team the year that he was drafted. So I've seen him from the first to now, and you know he's one of those guys where you're looking at it. He can have a 12-point first quarter. You're like, wow, he shoots 5 or 6 from the field and scored 4 points the rest of the game. Or he can have one of them nights where you're talking about where he's just like, oh, you know, he's had games here where he was, 30 and 15. You're like, whoa, and he can have a 4-game stretch where he's playing well. And then he has a 3-game stretch where he's not. And that's been what he's been his whole career. And when he's played consistent, and I mean, like, the beauty of his game, I'll put it this way. Chris Paul got a lot of flack, right? The unceremonious retirement. The Clippers have done what they've done without him. It's been an unceremonious end to his career. But he was the best thing to happen to Deandre Ayton because he was here constant. I mean, it was constant. We need this from you. We need that from you. We want this from you. We want that from you. And Ayton played his best ball with Chris because Chris obviously is finding him on lobs. Chris is able to, he's an orchestrator, right?
Sure.
So it all worked with that. And who is that person for the Lakers who is going to constantly be in his ear? This is what we need from you. Now, should you have to do that with a grown man? No. You're getting paid to play in the NBA. You shouldn't have to have that guy in your ear all the time to produce. Sure. But Chris Paul was that guy for him. And the funny thing, I'll leave you with this on DeAndre Ayton. Devin Booker, this was the rookie year for DeAndre Ayton. Devin Booker, after that game, DeAndre had one of them huge games. This is 18, 19-year-old kid at this point. And Devin Booker goes, he should be 30 and 20. Talent-wise, he's like, this dude should be dominating. Have we seen that? No. I mean, we'll see a game. Being 20 is exaggeration. You know what I mean? But we're talking, should he be 22 and 12? When you look at the talent, and it's a different player than he was in Phoenix. Like, he's had injuries. He's not the same. Like that spring he had, and it was.
And that's probably the best version. And that's probably the best version of DeAndre Ayton you'll ever see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's definitely going to be the best version of the athleticism. Now, what you're hoping for is that JJ Redick doesn't go completely gray and just looking at him, because I see it in his face. Like, I've watched a few Laker games, obviously because the Suns are right. It's in that battle for that spot.
Yep.
And I can see Redick's face like, oh my God, we're doing this tonight. Like this is where we're going. I got to go with Jackson Hayes now. Like I got to fry him out, and that's what Ayton does to coaches.
I think that says the whole story, and I think that is part of the story of DeAndre. And by the way, you're saying that Chris Paul used to get in his head, and who's going to be that player for the Lakers. Lakers are too busy complaining to the referees, so they don't have time to try to talk to DeAndre. They got other things to worry about. Duane, I'm going to leave you with one final one, and I appreciate your time, and thank you for doing this, and especially I know you got you got Suns practice. A final one is just for tonight's game specifically. Lakers are struggling. They've been, I think, 11 and 12 in their last 23 games, kind of desperate for a win. Couple of tough losses these last couple of games. What should we expect tonight with Phoenix being so shorthanded? Lakers a little bit more desperate. Is this just one of those games that you feel like Lakers should control, or are the Suns, even when they're shorthanded, a headache?
I mean, look, the Lakers should win the game. I mean, we're talking about no Devin, no Dillon, no Goodwin. I mean, they should win the game. I mean, and Jalen Green has been on a shooting slump that's just like he just cannot find it in terms of his shot. The numbers are ridiculous the last 3 games, the way he shot the ball. But again, he's been hurt all year with the hamstring, so he's trying to work his way back. So if I'm adding all that up, you're saying Lakers need a win. You still got Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. Like I'm watching the Celtics. The Celtics just beat the Suns without Tatum and Brown.
Before they beat without Jaylen Brown as well.
Right, Jaylen Brown he missed that game. Right, he missed that game.
He was healthy for the Lakers. He was very healthy.
Right, healthy for the Lakers and healthy for the Nuggets, but didn't need to play against the Suns, and they still beat the Suns by 16. So then you had Portland, who just beat them without Denny. So you're looking at it and you're like, if the Lakers coming in basically full strength with those three guys, they should win the game. But the Suns they're trying to figure out a way to play now. And I think I had a couple of games where it's been like on the chalkboard. That hasn't worked. So now what do they come up with tonight specifically for the Lakers? Because they got some time in between. So they can really gear up. Okay, let's figure out what we need to do to beat the Lakers. So the strategy could work in terms of they got to get back. Look, this is two numbers I'm going to ask you to watch tonight. Turnovers, offensive rebounds. That's what the Suns live off of. They force turnovers. They score off of those. They're like top 3 in both of those categories, top 5, and they get offensive boards. And that's how they get the extra possession. They want to win the possession game. If the Suns win the possession game, they got a chance. If they lose the possession game, they have 0 chance of beating the Lakers.
Duane, great stuff, brother. I appreciate the insight. Hopefully when we could do this again when both teams are healthy. I mean, I really do like the matchup. And I know we probably won't get it again this season, but down the road. But I appreciate the insight. Thank you for coming on, and always enjoy having you on the show.
Always good, but appreciate you. Glad we reconnected, no doubt.
Thank you, Duane. All right, that's Duane Rankin right there. Good stuff from him. Good dude. Awesome dude. You know, I used to have him when I was on radio all the time, and just always, nice with his time. It's an interesting team to me. They are. They really are. They're an interesting team for a couple of different reasons. And like I said, unfortunately, because they're not healthy, it changes things. And I honestly, I think for the Lakers, this is just kind of good timing to be able to play the Phoenix Suns right now based off of, obviously based off of where the Lakers are sitting and what happened in regards to that. So great stuff from Duane. And let's read a couple of comments here. I got some NBA stories to get into, and then we're going to call it a day. I appreciate you guys all hanging out. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody, obviously being a part of the show. Let's start looking at a couple comments here. I got a couple things around the NBA news, and then we're going to get out of here. Real quick on the NBA news. So, by the way, Lakers Suns tonight, a little bit earlier tonight, 6 o'clock, 7:30 tips against Orlando. What are they doing at 7:30? Had somebody hit me up on Twitter like, Al, I'm on the East Coast. They play at 10:30. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what to tell you on that. A couple quick things here in regards to NBA news, and then I want to take a quick look at some of the comments we're going to call today. James Harden, a right thumb fracture. Last thing the Cleveland Cavaliers need right now. And they're actually playing some pretty good ball since he joined the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, unfortunately, this is a 9 minutes to click on this damn thing. James Harden sustained a non-displaced fracture of the right thumb during Tuesday night's win over the New York Knicks. Harden underwent x-rays. He's ruled out for Wednesday's game against Milwaukee, or initially being listed as questionable. He ended up, obviously from that perspective. But they got such a kind of an opportunity here to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They got such an interesting team now with James Harden. They got to have all these guys healthy or they don't have a chance of doing anything. Detroit yesterday beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC without SGA, without Jalen Williams, without AJ Mitchell, without Alex Caruso, without Chet Holmgren. So obviously Detroit had to do that. They now have the best winning percentage in the league right now by percentage points over the Oklahoma City Thunder. One other NBA topic I want to get into. I'm going to read a couple of comments. We're going to call it a day. What does everybody make of? There's a lot of chat right now about, some of these awards and the MVP. There's hype growing that Cade Cunningham could have a legitimate shot at winning the MVP. But I think most of the stories that I'm reading around MVP is people don't like the 65-game threshold. If I told you these are, the positions right now, these are the individuals right now that got a chance of winning it all, or winning the MVP. These are the names that I would point out there. I think Jaylen Brown should be in the conversation. I think Wemby should be in the conversation. I think Cade Cunningham should be in the conversation. I think SGA, and I think Nikola Jokic. Those are probably the 5 that I would look at. People are starting to say, well, the best player is not going to win the award if you go off the 65-game threshold. I don't mind the 65-game threshold. Should somebody be winning MVP that plays 50 games? If you want to bring the number down, if you want to go from 65 to 60, I'm all ears. But shouldn't the person who wins the most valuable player award also be a player that's available, that plays in a certain amount of games? I think the odds here, Bleacher Report had the odds right now, and Cade Cunningham is starting to make a little bit more of a case. This kind of just comes with the territory. Obviously, I don't put too much stock into beating the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think that matters when the Thunder have as many players as they have missing, but I keep seeing a lot of the conversation out there is, well, maybe a guy like Cade Cunningham can become the winner, but if he becomes the winner, it's more because the 65-game requirement, it more falls into that. Why does it have to fall into that? They got the best record in the NBA. Cade Cunningham's stats going, right now are phenomenal, and they don't have a second superstar. They don't. Neither does Jaylen Brown in Boston. So it makes it that much tougher for these star players to shine because there's so much attention on the defensive side. I don't have an issue with the 65-game threshold. Maybe if you want to cut it down to 60, but yeah, you got to play games to be the most valuable player, and there's a case to be made for some of these other guys. All right, let's read a couple of comments, and we're going to call it a day. Quick reminder here. Member show at 9:30. Member show at 9:30. Hang out today at 9:30. We'll shoot the you-know-what. Even though Ayton is tripping, I understand who was feeding him at the beginning of the season when everyone was out. AR really did adjust to him. Yeah, listen, here's my problem with Deandre Ayton. The only thing I don't want with Deandre Ayton, well, if you want me to do this, then you got to do this for me. How about you just do what's in the best interest of the team? And you're also not good enough to be making any demands to the Lakers. And you're also not consistent enough. And you also pick and choose when to turn on your motor and have the engine on and when to have the engine off. You just don't get that flexibility that a star gets. If Luka wants to say something, they're going to listen. If AR wants to say something, they're going to listen. If LeBron wants to say something, they're going to listen. If Ayton wants to say something, I'm going to sit down and have the meeting and the conversation, but I'm also going to have this interpretation of DeAndre Ayton of, brother, you don't even come to work every single day and give it everything that you got. You got too much talent to be this inconsistent. That's a problem with Ayton. You have to earn that. You have to earn that reputation of like, hey, we know this guy's an absolute dog. By the way, you don't have to be a star player. You could be Marcus Smart, and Marcus Smart can have the attention of a room. Ayton, yeah, I don't know how much attention he's going to have. Thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate that very much. Last couple of comments here, and then we're done. He is who we thought he was. Yeah, I sold myself. Cade Cunningham is having the best year, period. So MVP is now a participation award. No, it ain't a participation award. The Pistons got the best record in the NBA. You think Cade Cunningham is having a participation award? But you got to freaking play. You got to hit a certain amount of games. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. You can't have, if Nikola Jokic doesn't meet the 65 game threshold. Again, I'm down to bring the amount of games down, but yes, being available is important to be the most valuable player. I think there's something to that. You don't think Cade Cunningham or Jaylen Brown have deserved an opportunity to be the MVP this year? I mean, that's 1-2 in the Eastern Conference. Cade doesn't have another star to play with. Jaylen Brown is missing Jason Tatum. And they're really good players on really good teams. I don't think you should be handing out trophies just because, I think there's certain criteria. Listen, if you told me today you could pick any player in the NBA, I'm picking Nikola Jokic. I'm not picking Cade Cunningham first or second, but I'll pick Cade Cunningham a little bit further down the road. But again, for an MVP award, I think there should be some criteria in there. All right, are we done? We done? Did we do everything? Think we got it? Think we're done. All right, I appreciate you guys being here. Shout out to all the supers out there. Thank you very much for Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Shout out to Duane Rankin for joining the show. Thank you to Harris Resort SoCal, to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. We got a member show coming up at 9:30. Hope you guys can join. And then later tonight, after the Lakers take on the Phoenix Suns, we are going to do another post-game show. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your morning. I will see you guys either at 9:30 or later tonight. Thanks, guys.